My friend, the Eagles may have just found the next draft phenomenon, an athlete so absurd, so off the charts, that even the biggest football analysts in the country had never heard his name before this week. And look, we are not talking about a conventional prospect. We are talking about a man who came out of a small village in Nigeria, showed up at an NFL showcase, and left scouts with their jaws on the floor with numbers that look like they came straight out of a video game on the hardest difficulty setting. Howie Roseman is watching closely, and you are going to understand why in just a second. But before I tell you everything about this athletic freak of nature, if you are a die-hard Eagles fan, smash that like button right now and subscribe to the channel, because the 2026 draft window is closing fast, and this might be one of the most fascinating stories of the entire scouting season. His name is Wir Bernard. Say it with me. Wir Bernard. Even the renowned analyst Bruce Feldman of The Athletic, the guy who every single season puts out the famous Freak List featuring the most extraordinary athletes in college football, admitted he had never heard of this guy before this week. But the NFL already knew who he was, and now the rest of the world does too. Bernard stands 6'4.5" and weighs 306 pounds. Just those numbers alone already suggest a promising defensive tackle, but what he did at the NFL's HBCU showcase is what is sending everyone into a frenzy. He ran the 40-yard dash in 4.63 seconds at that weight. Can you process that? Nearly 310 pounds of pure muscle crossing 40 yards in under 5 seconds. But it does not stop there. His vertical leap was 39 inches, a number you would be more likely to see from a professional basketball player than from an NFL lineman. And the broad jump? 10 feet and 10 inches. A brutal indicator of explosion and power that scouts use to project players inside the defensive line. And there is more. Bernard has 11-inch hands, nearly 36-inch arms, and a body fat percentage that, according to reports, sits at a mere 6%. 6% body fat at 306 pounds. That is human sculpture, my friend. That is not a football player. That is a human being built in a laboratory to dominate offensive linemen. Jordan Mailata, who has been training Bernard in Florida alongside other NFL International Player Pathway prospects, told The Athletic he has never seen a pure athlete like him in his entire life. Mailata described Bernard's broad jump as something that looked completely effortless. 306 pounds jumping 10 feet and 10 inches like it was nothing. The scouts who were at that showcase saw it happen and were probably already calling their general managers before Bernard even finished his day of testing. Now, the question every Eagles fan is asking themselves, is Howie Roseman going to make a move? According to NFL sources, the Eagles are among several teams that want to get a closer look at Bernard. Indianapolis and Denver have already scheduled private workouts with him. Philadelphia is on the list of interested teams. And when you think about Roseman's own history with extraordinary physical athletes coming from outside the conventional pipeline, the interest makes complete sense. The most obvious comparison, and it came up naturally behind the scenes across the NFL, is to Jordan Mailata. Do you remember the Mailata story? An Australian rugby player who needed help strapping on his own equipment on his very first day with the Eagles, who spent more than 2 years before earning regular snaps in the NFL, and who in 2024 was named by Pro Football Focus the best football player in the entire world, the best in the world, at any position. That is what Eagles' patience and player development did with a physically breathtaking athlete who arrived with zero technical background in the sport. Bernard fits exactly that same mold. Athletically, he may even exceed Mailata in testing. Technically, he is at zero. He is a blank slate. An otherworldly physical specimen who does not yet know what a pull block is, does not know defensive terminology, has not spent years grinding on a football field. Just like Mailata needed nearly 3 seasons before his potential started to show, Bernard would need that same long-term development treatment. And this is exactly where Philadelphia makes sense. The Eagles' defensive line coach is Clint Hurt, widely regarded as one of the best line developers in the NFL. With Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Moro Ojomo, and the rest of the pieces in the Eagles' defensive department, Bernard would be in the best possible environment to learn the craft. The Eagles' coaching structure, combined with the Mailata precedent, makes Philadelphia arguably the best long-term situation for a prospect with this kind of profile. But the draft math complicates things. The Eagles enter the 2026 draft with no 7th-round picks and just one 6th-round pick, number 197 overall. IPP prospects like Bernard tend to be selected in exactly those final rounds of the draft, where the risk is low and the bet on raw potential is high. That is exactly what happened with Mailata, selected in the 7th round back in 2018. With that limitation of late-round picks, the chances of Bernard starting his NFL journey in Philadelphia are mathematically slim, but not impossible. It is worth noting that Bernard is not the only IPP prospect the league has its eye on. Josh Weru, an edge prospect standing 6'4.5" at 244 pounds, posted even more jaw-dropping numbers with a 41.5-inch vertical and an 11'2" broad jump. Both are being pointed to as the IPP prospects most likely to be drafted in 2026. Historically, the IPP program, launched in 2017, has placed over 30 international athletes onto NFL rosters. But success stories beyond Mailata have been more modest. Fullback Jacob Johnson and edge defender Ife Obada made real contributions, but neither came close to the transformative impact Mailata generated. The challenge is always the same: taking an athlete with extraordinary physical gifts and teaching patience, technique, and fundamentals from scratch requires time, and very few teams have that kind of willingness. So what should the Eagles do? Look, Philadelphia's defensive line situation heading into 2026 is solid. Jalen Carter, despite an up-and-down 2025 season with shoulder injuries and that controversial ejection in the opening game against the Cowboys, remains one of the most talented young linemen in the NFL. Jordan Davis signed a 3-year, $78 million extension and had the best season of his career in 2025. Moro Ojomo emerged as a Pro Bowl-caliber defensive tackle. The front is in good shape. But football is a sport of injuries, unexpected turns, and a constant need for depth. An IPP prospect like Bernard, selected at the back of the draft, would cost almost nothing in terms of roster resources and could spend 2 or 3 years developing before being truly tested on the field. Exactly the Mailata model. The real question becomes, will Howie Roseman find a way to maneuver and have a 6th or 7th round pick available? Or will he let another team bet on the next potential phenomenon coming from outside the conventional system? My friend, the NFL is in an era of increasingly extreme athleticism. Every season, combined records get broken, athletes keep getting bigger and faster. But Bernard seems like something different. He seems like the kind of athlete who comes along once a decade, the kind that makes veteran scouts stop, look at each other, and agree they have never seen anything like it. The Eagles know better than any other team what can happen when you take an absurd physical specimen, exercise patience in development, and trust the process. Jordan Mailata is the living proof of that. Now the question is, will Howie Roseman find the right chess pieces to bring Wir Bernard to the NovaCare complex? With limited late-round picks, competition from teams like the Colts and the Broncos, and the uncertainty of where Bernard will be selected, what would be the best strategy for the Eagles in the 2026 draft? Should the Birds try to acquire extra picks to bet on this Nigerian phenomenon? Or is the current defensive line already deep enough to justify passing on the gamble? Drop your opinion in the comments. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe to the channel. I'll be back later to keep you updated with the latest Eagles news.